Alright, hi guys. So today I'm filming a reading vlog of Kelly's Heart, Brimstone. I have not read Quicksilver, but I need to because obviously it's like a book. But my library hold, it's not like I have it on hold. I requested it, but it has not come through. It's it though, and I don't care. And yes, it's my second time reading it. I don't care because it's so good. I think there's possibly more books in this trilogy, or I'm not sure. I know there's one more book, but I don't know the name of it on top of my head or the title. But I know this author. She's a spicy smut, romance, fantasy author. She's so good. Oh my god. 5 out of 5 stars. So I'll read you the back. It says their fates were forged in Quicksilver, but they will be fire in Brimstone. It's a duty blood and hot on her power. Sarah's Spain doesn't want power. The very last thing she needed is to have her name whispered on the entire court's lips. But now that she's been crowned Queen of the Blood Court, she's discovering that a queen's life is not her own. A heavy weight rests upon her shoulders. Her word and her brother need her back in her homeland, but the changes that have strengthened Ceres have also made her be born under a blazing sun. Ceres will surely die if she makes her way home to the Quicksilver, which means that once again she must send someone else in her stead. Keep her mouth shut, stick to the shadows, and for love of all 7 gods, do not crack any jokes. Kingfisher of the Ojun Gate has defeated armies in Sybarite and manners of horrors. But traveling back to Silverine with Canarian Swift not shut up. Right, this Canarian Swift might be the death of him. The Melodies will not shut up. Hidden dangers await them down the narrow alleyways of the Silver City. Unfolding secrets pose impossible threat. Suspicion must wrangle her struggle and accomplish her goals quickly if you want to see his mate again. Okay, this is really good. And there's a lot of spicy scenes between and a romantic scene. And the map, and I don't know what to say about this, but this book has wolves and fays, and the wolf is a pack, and wolf could survive alone in the dead of a midnight forest, and he could wait without enemies, but the vampires are also waiting, and there's also fae, so fae are inhumans that we're dealing with. And then there's a Black Court, like a palace called the Black Palace in the Vampire. It's described as very beautiful, ordinary in life. He's like a Okay, so I have known even before he would come streaking out of the shadows. When he had come and looking for a fight with the rest of the Black Palace, still sleeping, he shouldn't have ever been awake. This vampire, in his finery, with his belly full of innocent blood, had come seeking something he did not deserve, something I could not give. He's gonna, so. This vampire is going to destroy the main character, the main girl. Her name is Emma Trait. I'm not. So she's gonna kill her with his teeth and like bite her, and there's blood, and obviously shit is about to happen. So this vampire So we have the vampire and immortality. And basically, she loved the vampire. She said, I loved him in Kailash, not in Irian. In Kailash, on the other side of the mountain. So she leaves him there, and he would love the safety of Kailash for her. He climbed the mountain for her. So I guess he's gonna have to survive there, in those mountains. But it's like, okay, so she, yeah, I don't know how to explain this because there's so much going on. Like you have your humans, you have your fae, you have your vampires, you have your wolves. So we're dealing with 5 different things, all in need of desperate power, all wanting to kill one another. And it's like they're like all these poor creature out of its miseries, and like they're all fighting for this one woman, and they all possess some kind of magic, which is like some kind of healing magic. And it's like, never doubt your power. Each will prove exactly enough. When you have need of it, have faith in yourself, and you would always be enough. And I'm like, it is unlike magic, but it was very limited magic. Very, I don't know what to say. But yeah, it was very limited power, and they're all obsessed with her. So you have this guy named Kingfisher. He's kind of like the main character energy. And so he and Kingfisher is like, this was real. I was fake. I was a vampire. And they fall in love, and I guess I can say it. And he says, you look so downright fuckable. Sorry to say. And he's like, I was connected to him in a way that I didn't enjoy. Sometimes as dusk was falling, I would feel him wake on the other side of the palace, and his sadness was still my breath. My maker cringed at the male on the other side of the room, sprawled out in a tombstone. Absolutely that. And he goes, are you out of your mind? Because I don't know a single person stupid enough to hit a newly bonded female. And then I learned a god about female. So Kingfisher, my meat. And he goes, and he goes, I love Kingfisher. Kingfisher is my man. I goes, vampire, fate, maker, me. And he goes, the vampire places a hand on Kingfisher's shoulder. I may have considered among my kind Fisher, but there are others who have gathered here tonight are not spill living blood, even here in the chamber, and you're asking for the world of hurt. Guaranteeing your safety here is difficult enough as it is. And he's like, fear will be your undoing. And obviously the vampire's like, the vampire doesn't care. He's ready. There's so much smut in this scene. It's hard to do a vlog because there's so much smut. It is back in his maze. I hadn't killed Malcolm for his crown. I would done it to save myself for vengeance for my mate. I had it asked to become queen of this hateful court. If it were up to me, we will already be back at Kailash celebrating the fact that the king of the vampires was dead. But then, where will we be with another vampire lord rising to power and leaving Yolia potentially worse off than it already was? In the past 48 hours, I would have crashed a course in a vampire court politics, and unlike when I found myself being lectured by in the library to winter place. This time I had paid attention. 5 vampire lords beneath the vampire monarch, the lords of midnight, of which Charlie was one. Regardless of sex, they had always been referred to as lord, and apparently that wasn't changing anytime soon. I hadn't met the other lords yet, and truthfully, I had no desire to. From what I have been told, they were savages, cutthroat in power, hungry, and either will rip off their head and shock to the ground. I wasn't from here. I wasn't born here. Yonia was not my home, but I understood suffering, and I was no stranger to the senseless kind of death. Okay. And it says, either my blood is still thumping in my ears, or the horns and tents stampeding his way. Aside from a little redness around his neck, he seemed none the worse for wear. He didn't even sure that is like. Yeah, I love this. The Fisher came back and stood before me, ignoring my neighbor. His huge frame filled my vision. Thus, dark hair, strong jaw, and beautiful ink. Not long ago, I would dream of him standing close to me like this. My fool's heart had craved him more than my lungs had craved air. And now that he was mine, and I was his, my need for him had only intensified. He had saved Onyx for me. He had risked his life for me. And from the look on his face now, he wouldn't blink if he had to do it again. So, that's Fisher. So it says, the magic simmering below the surface of my skin registered that, just like this chain he would wrap around my waist, the weapon was pour silver. But it didn't burn me to the way that tells us or any other vampire. We already discovered I'm immune to the effects of both silver and iron. Perhaps it was that I wasn't entirely a one thing, neither holy vampire nor fae. Perhaps it was that I was alchemist on top of everything else, and I still had an infinite need for metals. Either way, I was great over the advantage. And then he says he was in danger here, thanks to the Black Court's Ariac traditions, and I was safe enough. But if Fisher hadn't killed Malcolm, the Black Court's rule didn't demand that he be allowed to rise to power unmolested. He was a mortal enemy of the Black Court. Dozens of high-blood vampires lived in the walls of Amaranth, all of them Malcolm's children. And every one of them hated my mate with an unmatched fury. If he was so much as loved sideways at the wrong person here, it would be trouble. I wanted to remind him of this now, but he already knew, of course, and we were out in time. And then it says, she isn't one of us. How can be our queen? How could she be our queen when I can hear the heart beating from here? The door was cold in his eyes. And I squirmed uncomfortably as the beautiful empire with golden braids called out across the hall to hear. And his ours might be younger court in this room. So we have a young, 4,000 years. Okay. And then it says, for 1,000 years we were ruled over by the first vampire, a brilliant man who carved out a home in a future for his children and earned all the rights to belong. He wasn't just a king, he was a walking god among the living and the dead of his realm. And this girl was human mere days ago, so weak that one of our own had to save his life. She sent a look full of naked malice. How do you replace the creator of our entire species with? She was in the She was an excellent actress. Her words overflowed with emotions as she paced around the star, leaving in and out of the other lords of midnight. Most would have been fooled by the hitch in her voice when she spoke of losing Malcolm, but I heard a lie. Her heart was not broken because she had no heart. I felt the energy radiating from her as sure as I used to feel the heart radiate from the sun of the dark. Whatever soul she might once have possessed had fled the shell of her body long ago. A dark, cruel thing crouched inside of her now, peering at the wide, pretty eyes, using her voice to speak. And then why do we crown a lonely creature that would have been food to us only days ago and give in the power to rule over us? Why do we embarrass ourselves? That's a good question. Why? This is like, it's so. Oh, I feel like we would have killed Malcolm. No, like, I don't know. I feel like a fanfic. Like, what happens if they didn't kill Malcolm? Okay, anyway. And it says everything changed because she killed Malcolm. Therefore, she must have said, in our way, we all know that I have searched off everything. And this is the outrage. And then it says Fisher and his followers are religious. They worship one of the demon's gods. If he gets his way, every single living being in Eula will be drained of their magic and turned into slaves. Every continent will be turned into a wasteland paradise for vampires, where they can hunt and kill anything left alive for sport. And says, it was not Fae, but it wasn't vampire either. It had come to Malcolm centuries ago, back when the Vampire King was still in the throes of foregoing his empires and had offered his services to the kings. When Malcolm had asked if he wanted eternity in Singe, the Hazrax had sworn to destroy him if he tried to fight it. And Malcolm had to need every word. When the king had asked it what it did want, and it seems okay, it's so difficult. So much history involved. So basically Malcolm was a vampire and had magic and power, but then he got killed by King Fisher. So everything is just kind of like all the history, all the magic that came in. Now it's just pure evil runs through the veins. And the world has turned dark. That's more I'm getting at. And then because of that, they have been through 5 hells. Like, that's what it says. Like, and you can explain the different types of hells. But, and they explain the laws and how because killing Malcolm, the original vampire of the throne, like how it destroyed everything. And basically, that's like explaining the first 50 pages of the book. So now they have no magic, no energy. I pleaded with this Smart has this one just take his fucking head because they're all tired of this guy. And he's like, they call him a monster, and they just want the new vampire king dead, Fisher. And like basically that's like the first 1,500 pages trying to plan out how it's trying to like plan and plan out how to kill this new vampire king since he killed Malcolm. And like basically that explains like the first 1,500 pages. And I don't know, he's like, yeah, he may be handsome, but it's just a tiny frown from on King Fisher's handsome face. No one will know you're God, and like they want him gone too. So like, but then he falls in love, and like, and they have romantic connections, and now they share responsibility. And so he kind of falls in love with one of Malcolm's like, yeah. So I'll just read it to you. It says like it says a tiny frown form on King Fisher's handsome face. No one will know me God. We'll have to tell them all you're engaging in blood-fueled orgies all day. That will convince them to think you're making an effort to fit in. And they're talking about like Orion's powers. And she goes, I looked at him sour, but before I could say anything, he quieted my worry. It's okay, we both felt off, but we slept a while and worked and learned fine now. This was hard. Loving him, I would barely slept a wink all day worrying about him. Some deep, unsettling feeling inside me had told me something in servant that though I would have plenty of opportunities to do it, I would have responsibilities. So yes, this new vampire is like falling in love with one of Malcolm's mates, and they slept together, but now they're like, oh, it was nothing like that, and this was just stars colliding. They ended everything in the beginning at the same time. The idea of forming a relationship. Fisher was everything. I was attuned to him. I could feel his shifts in moods, like the ebb and flow of the tides that I had read too much about, and worrying about him while we were apart enough to drive me mad. And it says, okay, I'll take your word for it. And yes, I'll come there with you tonight, but on one condition. Making demands. Making what demands? Because, like, now she's half vampire or something. Because he was using me when he called me that, but I didn't like it. I didn't want there to be any greater divide between us. The fact that I was that half vampire was already causing issues. And it's like, right, this is technically, I represented everything Fisher detested, and I was queen now too. My mate's disdain for royalty was understandable. My home was ruled by a tyrant queen. Servants suffered every day because of Madra, but Fisher had also experienced pain at her hands. Butter had closed the quicksilver pearls and taken his. Okay. So basically, and portals and taken his father's throne. Not to mention that the newly throne had been stolen by King Balkan, who had tortured Fisher his entire life. And then Malcolm, ruler of the Blood Court, had come along and thrown him into the maze. It made perfect sense that there would be a sharp edge to his tone when he said the words, Your Highness. And there's so much political tension and drama. And it's like, really, like the first 100 pages is just like political tension and political drama. Alright, so I'm not trying to go on. But basically, yeah, I mean, it's just like the first 100-something pages. And then, I don't know, just a spoiler, but they're planning to murder him. They're planning to murder Fisher. I want to get around like 134 pages in. They want to murder him. So they're planning to murder him. And that because he goes through all this torture and his bloodshed. I don't know what else to say, and I'm not going to explain the rest of this book because I feel like most of this book, I mean, how many pages was it? Like, this book's like 600 pages, I don't know. Okay, this is a 660-page book. So just roughly estimate it close to 700-page book. And like the first 100 pages were about just a vampire that's no longer a vampire named Malcolm, who was once taken on the throne. But something happened, and now he's dead. And so that screws up the whole fucking political system. And it's like, now King Fisher is now in charge. And, you know, so much shit and so much political history has happened that none of that matters anymore. So when Kingfisher falls in love with one of Malcolm's mates, and you see they stop together, but they're like, oh, we were just very sleepy. Somehow the stars collided, and it was nothing really. And like now, and she's in trouble. And she doesn't want to admit it. So because of that, they're gonna murder this dude. Wow. Okay. Like, did it really need to be a 700-page book, roughly? Almost? No. Like, the first 1,500 pages were about political alliances, political war, and the next 100 pages, like, 200 pages were just about, like, him trying to murder him. And I'm like, did it really need to be 700 fucking pages long, almost? And I'm like, no. Was it a good book? Yes. Was it a fun time? Yes. Was it a smutty book? Yes, it was. And I enjoyed it. Yes. My God. Continue the series? Yes. But I wish it wasn't so... Like, I wish the one... I wanted to give it a 5 out of 5 stars. But because of all the political alliances and political war and political intrigue, I'll give it like 4 out of 5 stars. And I'm going to call that a wrap because, man, I've been talking about this book for 30 minutes. But yeah, it was good, but there was so much political tension. And I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'm going to go. Bye.